Hello everyone, Dr. Mike here, TCOM 101. In the last video, we talked about satellite radio and a new form of terrestrial delivered radio, something called HD radio. Well, in this video, we're going to focus on internet delivered audio, music, podcasting, and information services. Internet delivered. Now, I've got a question for you. What's your main source for music? If you grew up in the last century, in the 20th century, at that time, your primary source of music would probably be radio and then records. But most of you today are likely to cite an online service like Spotify or iTunes. And most of you probably do use Spotify because it's the #1 audio streaming service. You know, the rise of internet radio and audio streaming, it really is a great example of the rise of personalized media. It fits that personalized media notion very well because internet audio allows you to create your own playlist, okay, to really personalize, individualize your musical experience. Plus, you can select from millions of podcasts that are highly specialized, at just about any topic you're personally interested in. You can probably find a great podcast. But during the last decade, we've seen the incredible rise of the internet music streaming industry, and it's changed how people consume music. We have a lot of competition in the marketplace for this service, audio streaming, but one company has really emerged as the major player, and of course that is Spotify. So we'll be talking in this video a little more about Spotify. First, though, I want to talk about Pandora. Pandora still exists. It's a very interesting audio company. The reason I'm going to focus on Pandora is because it was the first hugely successful internet radio audio streaming company. So it has a place in history as the first big music streaming service. Pandora Radio describes itself as an automated music recommendation service. Well, yes, its job is to push tunes at you, musical selections which you might want to listen to. Now, it's based on something called the Music Genome Project. We'll explain what this is in a few more slides. A little more about Pandora. This was launched back in 2000, 20 years ago, really at the beginning of the smartphone revolution. The company went public in 2011, and it was purchased by a satellite radio company, SiriusXM, in 2018. Pandora Media. Now, Pandora has a big database of users and a lot of songs in its collection. What's the purpose of the company? Well, of course, the mission of the company is to make money, but at the same time, it is trying to enrich people's lives by enabling them to enjoy music they know and discover music they love anytime, anywhere. That's the company's mission statement. They're going to push musical selections at you anytime, anywhere. Time shifting, place shifting. So let's talk a little bit more about Pandora. I want to try and explain the Music Genome Project. This is the real cool part of a service like Pandora. Okay, this is a metaphor. It's based on the Human Genome Project, and that's an attempt to get at the building blocks, the basic elements, the DNA, the structure, the underlying structure of human or all kinds of life. Okay, so it's a metaphor for having a deep, rich understanding, a very granular understanding of something. So what they're doing here is trying to analyze music in a very powerful way. And the Music Genome Project was, at first, one of the biggest, most comprehensive analyses of music ever undertaken, although other huge music databases now exist. Okay, Pandora originally started with musicians. They would listen to music and they would study it. And they came up with an amazing number, 450 different musical variables. Variables are things that vary. Okay, characteristics, attributes that included every detail you could imagine on every track in the collection. So they looked at all kinds of variables: melody, harmony, instrumentation, rhythm, vocals, lyrics, and many, many other variables. In fact, they came up with 450 variables for each song. Now, if you can analyze each song in that detail, you can discover its genetic code. And that allows you to personalize music and musical experiences. You can use algorithms to identify which songs have the most attributes that seem to match the person's musical interest. I hope that makes sense. Okay, how does this work? Well, every time you give a thumbs up or play a song, or every time you give a thumbs down to a song, you're really modifying your personal algorithm. The algorithm which determines your musical preferences and your taste and the recommendations. On a music site, you could probably even listen to a radio station that plays the kind of music that matches your personal interest. But most of us would really, I think, rather use the full power to customize and to create our own music mixes and our own playlists. Now let's talk a little bit about the business model. How do they make money? Well, Pandora is like most media companies. It makes money in two ways. It either sells subscriptions or gets its revenue from advertising. Pandora offers its service to listeners for free. Okay, but you have to listen to some of the ads and you probably don't get access to all the features. If you want all of that and to skip the ads, you probably have to buy a subscription service. But most people don't subscribe. Most people who listen to audio streaming do it, on the no-cost advertising supported basis. So advertising comprises about 80% of Pandora's total revenues. Okay? Only 20% of the revenues come from subscriptions. All right, they have to pay a lot of money for the rights to use the music. They pay several different kinds of royalty payments. This is all about copyright and compensation. The company has to pay the performance royalties to the artist who made the recordings. The actual performers get compensated. Also, Pandora has to pay the composers, the people who write the songs and own the publishing rights. So they're socked with two different kinds of royalty payments. Did you know radio in our country, AM and FM radio, only has to pay the licensing fees to compensate the composers and songwriters and not the performers? Anyway, Pandora, at first it came out in 2000. It was all about the desktop and personal computers. That was the first platform, and it was really amazing to watch them navigate towards all the other platforms, whether it was televisions, tablets, smartphones, automobiles, and even try to sell some standalone Pandora players. Okay, so yeah, they learned how to get these sound programs very early onto the tablet. And they targeted the 3G and 4G smartphone markets, and they'll be targeting the 5G marketplace. Okay. Automobiles now come equipped with Pandora and other audio streaming services. Now, the car place will be a huge market for Pandora, and if it gets, and Spotify and other streaming services, and if they get hugely popular in the automobile, that may really threaten the current local AM and FM radio stations. They even try and sell standalone devices, although I would just use my smartphone with a good Bluetooth speaker and get the same effect, I think, without having to purchase this device. Anyway, And they've learned to put these on the television. So you see, expanding the platforms, expanding the market all the time. Now, as of 2017, Pandora had about 1.5 million songs in its library, which is not a huge number, and 74 million active listeners. So that's a pretty good audience base, but it's small compared to Spotify. Okay, and then the latest thing about Pandora, of course, is that it was purchased in 2018 by a satellite radio company, Sirius XM. And I think Sirius XM and satellite radio knows much of the future is in podcasting, streaming audio on the internet radio. So I think it's a great example of personalization, okay, because in internet radio, the audience really is of one person audience. Now, internet music has made a huge impact. There's some research that indicates that a milestone has been reached. Internet radio now has more listeners and is bigger than AM and FM. Okay? Internet radio is now bigger than traditional legacy over-the-air terrestrial AM and FM radio. The percentage of Americans who listen to music on the internet, on Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, is now larger than the percentage of Americans who listen to music on traditional platforms like the radio, AM and FM radio, and the compact disc. So, internet music services are growing, and I don't think that growth has plateaued yet. Bottom line, internet music listening has surpassed radio and physical media like CDs and tapes. Streaming is hurting the CD business. In 2014, revenue from streaming outpaced CD sales for the very first time. We get this from the Recording Industry Association of America. And of course, this is where the revenue will be, in streaming. Now let's talk about another big music analysis project. This is much bigger than the Music Genome Project. This is something called the Echo Nest. This is a very cool company. It's the big music brain, and they know what you like in terms of music. Every single one of us. The Echo Nest. It's really been called the song-picking puppet master, pulling the playlist strings behind Spotify and other music services. That's a powerful quote. Echo Nest powers products by the likes of Spotify, Vevo, MTV. It's got a ton of clients. A lot of people use the Echo Nest service. All right, so what's this company all about? It goes back to 2005. Echo Nest markets, it collects all this data on music and about music and some other information, and it sells it to popular music services, radio stations, anybody who wants an understanding of music. Okay, so the Echo Nest was purchased by Spotify, the giant music company. Okay, in 2014, they weren't required to disclose the financials here, but I'm sure it was billions. Echo Nest is owned by Spotify. So what does Echo Nest do? Two approaches to analyzing music. First, it's like the Music Genome Project. They use computer algorithms to analyze songs. They look for hundreds of variables, analyze the key elements like key and tempo. All right, but they're collecting other data. Okay, a searchlight system crawls through the web and collects all kinds of information about what's happening in society, what people are tweeting about, or what people are commenting about in terms of music. So the company is really collecting two sets of data, and they're combined to give every track a very impressive digital fingerprint that contains not only its musical attributes, but also some of the cultural attributes and what people are saying about the music. So that's a great understanding of music. Okay, so the Echo Nest has gathered data for like 40 million tracks by 4 million artists. It's unbelievable. And if you look at the bottom of this graphic, it shows that they have over 1 trillion points of data about the songs. Okay, that is a lot of data to mine, to harvest, to understand, to use, to analyze. So they go after the understanding of the song, but also the artist and the fans. Okay? And they, excuse me, they synthesize billions of data points and transform it into musical understanding. Okay? So, insiders, okay, this huge database is just called the knowledge. So it really is the knowledge about music and what music we like and the social information surrounding it. So the Echo Nest sells to all these customers like Spotify, of course, okay, but MTV, the BBC, Twitter, all kinds of customers, iHeartRadio, and their customers reach over 100 million music fans every month. That's a staggering number, 100 million. Spotify, okay, just briefly. Of course, you're familiar with it because it's the world's most popular streaming music service. I'll bet you use it once in a while. Okay? It's a huge database. It's got about 71 million subscribers, 35 million songs, okay? And 157 million active users. That's a big internet company. It went public in 2018. It made its debut on the New York Stock Exchange. And maybe some of you might want to later in the semester do your in-depth company profile on Spotify and learn all about this amazing company. Okay, there's a lot of other streaming services in the marketplace. TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Radio.com, Apple. It's a very crowded marketplace. Okay, here's the best data I could find about the U.S. music streaming services in the U.S. as of 2018. Apple Music and Spotify are the clear leaders, both approaching about 50 million monthly users, okay? Followed by Pandora, then SoundCloud, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and way at the bottom of the list, Sirius XM and TuneIn Radio, but they're still reaching millions of people. All of these companies are. Okay, but the big players in music streaming are Apple Music and Spotify. All right, let's talk a little bit about a company called iHeartMedia. This used to be called Clear Channel. This is America's largest traditional radio company, and it has a huge presence in cyberspace and the internet. Okay, but America's largest radio chain. It owns hundreds of stations. iHeartMedia, 250 million monthly users. Okay, a lot of users. Okay, this company has one of the biggest reaches of any radio and TV company in America. iHeartMedia. Why? Because they own 858 radio stations in 150 markets, including most of the top 50 markets. Okay. iHeartRadio, 858 stations. That's what we call a chain or horizontal integration. iHeartMedia, by the way, also owns a bunch of outdoor advertising displays or billboards, 108,000 billboards across the United States. That's also a media industry, the billboard industry. Okay. A segment of iHeartMedia is iHeartRadio. That was founded back in 2008. And it's an internet radio platform, iHeartRadio, owned by iHeartMedia. So iHeartRadio allows you to create customized stations. They have 15 million songs in the library, hundreds of thousands of artists. You can create personalized playlists, and you can listen to all of the iHeartRadio stations. Okay? You can listen to more than 1,500 radio stations live, and most of them here in the United States. So it's great for listening to terrestrial radio. Anytime, anywhere, always free is what they say. Take your favorite radio stations and music wherever you go. Download the iHeartRadio app. Okay, let me talk about TuneIn. And this is another successful company. Okay, you can get access to hundreds of thousands of radio stations from around the world, and millions of podcasts that come from all of this material comes from every continent. And I personally use it, and I think it's a very strong audio service. Podcasting. Let's talk a little bit about that. You all have the opportunity to become a podcaster, and it can be very lucrative. Some podcasters make millions and millions of dollars. Here's the major players in the podcast market, where to go, who's trying to make these available, and who's storing, creating libraries of millions of podcasts. Well, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and SiriusXM, the satellite radio company, is also in the internet and the podcast market. All right, but these are the big players where you can go. I mean, and there's many others, of course. All right, look at this data. This is to show you how much podcasting has grown in the last decade or so. This is the share of the United States population that have actually listened to a podcast in the last month. Back in 2008, that was only 9%. I'd say that's the elite stage of podcasting. But by 2020, it had grown to 37%. Maybe we've entered the popular stage. I don't know. But look at the growth of podcasting during the last decade. All right, so podcast growth continues to accelerate. I don't think it's plateaued. It's going to continue to grow. And Spotify has really spent a lot of money and put a big focus on this. And I think Spotify is creating a lot of podcast listeners, bringing people to the podcast. Anyway, radio has changed a lot in the 21st century. We've got the rise of internet radio and streaming and podcasting. All of this is cool, and it definitely creates more opportunities for each one of you. So that's all I got for this video. I hope you got something out of it. Anyway, take care. Be kind to yourself and to each other and to the members of the community, and continue to be socially responsible. And I'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.